You guys, welcome back to Gotta Love Them Movies, your place to talk about the stuff that you love. I'm your host, Mr. Mike Brown. I'm here all the time. And you guys, this past week has been a rough one. It has been a rough week for me personally, and as I'm watching the video, there's a teeny tiny little time delay, which I didn't think I was going to get with my computer's webcam. I usually get that time delay with this little webcam thing, the Logitech BRIO, which is why the picture quality hasn't been so great in the past, I don't know, month or so, give or take. I've been moving away from the BRIO just because it has this tiny little time delay. So hopefully, with the built-in webcam, things are going to pick up. I'm not liking this, you guys. But you know what? It's on par. It's completely on par with everything else that's been happening in my life this past week. And by in my life, I just mean like my other work life. You guys know that I have the flight attendant job, and not a great week to be a flight attendant, you guys. Not a great week to be a flight attendant. But I don't want to hate. I just want to love I want to love all these wonderful, juicy morsels of movie goodness and ooey gooey stuff and helping me suck the marrow out of life. Thank you, Dr. Keating, played by Robin Williams in one of my favorite movies, Dead Poets Society. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest coming back for her second week in a row. It's Dominica May! Woo, 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 woo!
Hi, good to be back again.
Dominica, how has your week been going?
Mostly just been, actually I've been watching Derral, on Netflix, season 2.
It's a great show.
And playing the game on my phone. And getting ready for my new job.
and you've been doing Lego builds.
Yes, I started, well, I did the Everyone is Awesome Pride set last week, which I did over live stream on Facebook just to my friends. One person watched, and I was musing that it was funny because it's 18 plus. It's an 18 plus set.
Wait, hang on, wait, 18, wait, what is this about 18 plus?
On the box of that set, it says it's for ages 18 plus. It's such an easy set.
It's probably like the content of like what it is, what you're like, what it means.
Yeah, but kids know about that stuff. I think it's ridiculous that Lego's like, this isn't kid appropriate because it's a rainbow.
I know. This is Dominica, this is the world that we live in. For now. It's gonna change. It's gonna get better. But this is where we are for now.
Yes.
Anyway.
I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, so this is like normal for every age here. It's no big deal.
No, completely normal for you. Completely normal for me in New York. But at the same time, yeah, I get it for like people who are not in our like incredible urban environments, all inclusive. Yeah, it's a prickly Lego to swallow. It's a blocky Lego to, I don't know. You understand the analogy. You know where I'm going with that.
It's hard to step on.
Ooh. It's a painful Lego to step on. There it is. It's a painful Lego to step on. Anyway, guys, we're not here to talk about Lego. We are here to talk about all things movies and movie news. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and click that subscribe button. What subscribing to the channel helps us get more subscribers, obviously, but also more watch content on the channel. And with the more watch content the channel gets, the more I get to hopefully make this show my full-time job. So I very much appreciate love and support in that regard. Also, you guys, if you haven't already done so, send me an email at gottalovethemmovies@gmail.com and we can talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. As long as it's family friendly, as long as it's like movies, TV, video game type news. Yeah, if there's like a bit of news that you think that I've missed, hit me up at gottalovethemmovies@gmail.com. And like I said, as long as it's family friendly, we'll make your email, your words, your comments, your questions a main topic here on the show. All right, guys, without further ado, let's jump in and take a little bit of movie news.
What?
All right, you guys, let's jump in. As I previously mentioned, if you have anything you want to email, go ahead and send me an email, as did our first emailer, the Nerd Zone. And the Nerd Zone, this isn't specifically movie news, but it's kind of fun, interesting news that Nerd Zone has to say. He says, so I recently, big news is the subject of the email. So I recently did an interview with a popular YouTuber called Seymour. I'm gonna say Seymour. Hope I'm saying that correctly. Seymour, talking about my disability, and I asked him if he could mention your YouTube channel in the video. He said yes, and your channel will be mentioned in the vid. Well, if you guys aren't incredibly familiar what it is that that Nerd Zone is referring to, yeah, there is a YouTuber on YouTube called Seymour. And again, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And what Seymour does is he gets into various VR kind of chat rooms, but, you know, he has kind of interviews or conversations with people on the internet in these live VR environments, and he just gets to talk to them and gets to interview them and find out like who they are and what they do, and gets kind of deep into details about various aspects of people's lives. And it's really interesting. It's really fascinating. As Nerdzone points out in his email, he got to be interviewed about his disability. And I'm anxiously awaiting to hear this episode and see what it is that that you guys are talking about, because that actually sounds really cool. It sounds really interesting. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. But also, you know, like I said before, huge shout out to Seymour. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe to his channel. He has some really interesting videos out there about just people, just normal, regular people talking about their experiences in life. So yeah, I'm kind of excited for that. So go ahead and check that out at your earliest convenience. Let's kick it over to Dominica as you take a sip out of your beautiful purple bottle.
I thought I was safe.
You're never safe on Gotta Love Them Movies. Are you familiar with Seymour?
I am not. No. I don't watch a lot of YouTube live streams or any of that kind of content. Mainly, I just check out when I see friends streaming stuff. Like, I get notifications that I might check those out.
I mean, like, I get it. Like, YouTube is a vast environment. YouTube is huge, and there's so much content, and there's so many channels, and I mean, you can watch the dumbest of dumb, or you can watch the most intellectual of intellectuals.
Talking about movies.
Yeah. Films. Talking about films.
But your show is Gotta Love Them Movies, not Gotta Love Them Film.
Moving on. Our next email also comes from the Nerd Zone. And what Nerd Zone is talking about here is video game movies. He says, sorry I missed last week's show. Not a problem. You're an avid watcher, so you're entitled to miss a few episodes now and again. Nerd Zone says, but I have news. Sorry, my brain is not interpreting words correctly. Sorry I missed last show, but I have news, and they are both based on video game movies. First news is about the Super Mario movie. The big Illumination film of 2022 will be an exclusive to Peacock in the US after the cinema release. I do not really care about this news as a UK viewer, but thought this would matter to your US audience, Mike. Nerdzone sends a follow-up email, and he says, so I gave you an email talking about this movie, but one bit I forgot to mention is that the Despicable Me producer, Illumination CEO, is now a part of the Nintendo board of directors to make more Nintendo film projects. Obviously, this Mario movie will succeed. Not necessarily. We'll talk about that in a second. He says, obviously, this Mario movie will succeed, but I have hope as Nintendo and Mario creator Shigeru Miyamoto have been working on this film for 5 years now. Maybe we might get a Zelda movie, a Donkey Kong movie, and an unrealistic possibility, but I'm going to say it anyway, a Nintendo cinematic multiverse that will end with Super Smash Brothers. This is a joke. Even though I want it to happen as a Nintendo fan. All right, yes. So there's a lot to unpack here, and forgive us, it's gonna take a minute to talk about all of this stuff all together. But yeah, let's. Oh, sorry. Where's my tab? There we go. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about what it is that Nerd Zone is discussing first and foremost. Yes, in case you haven't heard, a few years ago it was announced that Illumination was teaming up with Nintendo. They were joining forces, and we're gonna get a Super Mario Brothers animated movie coming in 2020. Now, when I said we are getting, let's put a little asterisk there. It says we are getting, this was years ago. Are we still getting? Probably. But again, let's put an asterisk there, and we're going to unpack this whole thing for you. Here in, let me jump over to Variety for a second. All right. So it was first announced in 2018 that we were getting the movie. So this is 3 years ago, you guys. 3 years ago, it was announced that Illumination is now making plans for an animated Super Mario Brother movie. Let's jump into this article really quick in Variety. Illumination founder Chris Meledandri, Chris Meledandri wants to make an animated version of Super Mario Brothers, and Variety has the inside scoop on his plans for bringing the Mushroom Kingdom to the multiplexes. It's a daunting challenge. The classic Nintendo game about a pair of Italian plumbers who must rescue Princess Peach from the villainous Bowser has already inspired a critically reviled 1993 movie. Yeah, it's really bad. Let's jump past this. Meledandri, who is the producer behind Despicable Me and The Secret Life of Pets, relishes the challenge of adapting a property that previously suffered a bumpy transition from game console to the big screen. He says, quote, "I like that this was not done well the first time," he said. "I think that's more exciting or more worthy than simply making another version of the film that was done incredibly well to begin with." And, you know, they keep going on and talking about how Nintendo Mario creator Shigeru Miyamoto is going to come in as a producer, saying we are keeping him at the front and center of the creation of this film. I've rarely seen that happen with any adaptation where the original creative voice is being embraced like we're embracing Miyamoto. There's a history in Hollywood of people believing that they know better than the people responsible for a property. I've made that mistake before, blah, 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 blah. They keep saying, you know, it's an ambitious task and Super Mario Brothers is priority development, yada, yada, yada. Okay, cool. So this is essentially, in a nutshell, they're planning, again, this is 3 years ago. They're planning a movie. They have this. They're bringing in Miyamoto. He's going to be an active participant in the creative process of making this movie, which I take issue with first. Again, we'll get into that. Now let's fast forward to about 8-9 months ago, September of last year. Let's jump into September of last year. Once again, it was being announced that, hey, the Super Mario Brothers movie is in the works and it's coming in sometime in 2022. So 3 years goes by. We don't hear any movement really about this movie. We hear no casting announcement. We hear no forward movement in terms of hiring a director and hiring other producers. We only have those two names, right? We only have the Illumination Entertainment guy, and I've totally forgotten his name right now. Excuse me, Chris Meledandri and Shigeru Miyamoto. We only have those two names right now, right? And then all of a sudden, a few months ago, last year, September of last year, we get more news, a whole bunch of news bombs about, oh, hey, remember this animated Super Mario movie? Well, again, it's coming in 2022. Don't forget, you guys. But where did this come from? Why, out of the blue, did we start getting all this news about, hey, remember that movie? It's coming. Well, that same month, September 2020, there was essentially an investors meeting, a Nintendo investors meeting, and they were doing some reporting and kind of not necessarily reporting, but they were giving overall generalities to their investors, to their shareholders, saying, this is what's going on with Nintendo. These are the things that we have coming up. These are the things that we're excited about. They weren't making any news. They weren't dropping any news bombs, but they were just saying, this is where we're at. This is what's going on. So let's jump into, and again, it's important to note, look right over here. It was September 16th, 2020. Now, yes, it says the fiscal year ending in March 2021, but that was just the report of the fiscal year ending. The actual report was given September 16th, 2020. That's when this whole thing went public. So let's jump down to page 28 here. This is specifically what they said at this Nintendo investors meeting. They said, another way we are delivering Nintendo entertainment to a wider audience is with the Super Mario CG animated movie, which is scheduled for theatrical release in 2022. Production is moving ahead smoothly thanks to the collaboration between Chris Meledandri, founder and CEO of Illumination, known for the Minions movies, and Nintendo's representative director and fellow Shigeru Miyamoto, who are both serving as producers. The movie will be distributed worldwide by Universal Pictures. So that's where like the big news stuff is coming. It all came from this Nintendo investors meeting, right? Where they were being held accountable to their shareholders and blah, 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 whatever, right? Okay. But let's jump over, again, there's a lot to cover here to create like the full picture. Let's jump over to IMDb for a second. You can see here on IMDb's homepage. Now, is IMDb the official like news source for all things movies? No. But here you can see it is the film is currently in development, and it's expected for September release of 2022. It's in development. It's not even in production yet. It's not even in production. If it were in production, in all of the websites that I was able to find, they're all dated back September of last year. There is very little out there that is dated after September of 2020. So there's very little news source or news cred that we have for a contemporary update, right? So the most that we have is that this movie is in development. It's not even in production. We don't have a vocal cast. We don't have a director. We have two producers, and they're like the main executive producers. And the last thing that I want to share with you guys real quick. Now, again, this is on Super Mario Wiki. This is not the end-all, be-all. This is not super official. But let's jump down in here into the wiki really quick. You can see I have part of this highlighted under the untitled Mario film in development. It says that Miyamoto also mentioned that Nintendo and Illumination have mutually agreed to call the deal off if neither company could think of an interesting premise, but also noted that the screenplay has been hashed out a number of times, and talks are in progression, hoping to provide more information once the schedule has been ironed out. And of course, we also have a link, a source for that as well. It was February 9th, 2018, under VentureBeat, interview with Miyamoto. So where does this leave us? What picture is being painted here? I don't think that this Super Mario movie is in a good place right now. Could everything be off the books? It could be. This could be the biggest secret project of all time. Maybe they announced it 3 years ago, and yeah, okay, maybe September of last year there was a little short update there. And maybe they're trying to keep this whole thing hush-hush. Maybe they have the best movie ever Maybe they have the best movie ever, and they don't want anybody to know. Maybe they already have their voice cast for it. Maybe they've already done all the recording, all the pre-production, maybe all the production for it. Who knows? Maybe this thing could be ready to wrap and come out in theaters of September next year. Maybe it could. Maybe it could. But it doesn't seem that way. It really genuinely does not seem that way. And Nerd Zone, let me jump back into your email for a second here. Let's see. Okay. Where you say maybe we might get a Zelda movie, a Donkey Kong movie, and, unrealistic possibility, a Nintendo cinematic multiverse that will end in Super Smash Brothers. Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be so cool, and I would love to see that. But based on where this movie's at, and based on where other news sources are reporting as to the status of this film right now, I don't see it. I don't see it happening anytime soon. We know that Miyamoto has been extremely protective of the Mario Brothers franchise. After the complete abomination that was the 1993 Super Mario Brothers movie, the live-action movie, Nintendo has been very, very cautious and very, very protective with any of their video game IPs. So, and again, there's that, let's jump back in here to the Mario Brothers wiki, where they say, if the, they have to mutually agree upon the story. If the screenplay has been hashed out a number of times and it's not quite where either one of them want it to be, both sides, Nintendo and Illumination, could squelch this deal. They could both put it down. So, I mean, is this a done deal? Is this thing, ready to go in the can? Or is everybody getting excited about it? I say no. Now, Nerd Zone, unless you have other links, unless you have other sources that you can send me, and if you do, please email me those sources, because in my research and everything I was able to find, I wasn't able to come up with anything regarding the movie coming out on Peacock. I wasn't able to find anything about like some of these deals that you're referencing in your email. So if you have specific information, if you have specific links or credits, please send those to me. I would be more than excited to see the stuff that you've been able to dig up. But as far as my research goes, I haven't been able to find anything that says anything close or remote to that. Now, Dominica, let's kick it over to you for a second. I just spent all this time laying out all this information, and yeah, this stuff would be really fun. This would be really exciting if we could get, Donkey Kong universe, we could get a Zelda universe, and obviously a Mario universe. All these animated cinematic universes coming together in a culmination of a Super Smash Brothers movie. That would be epic. That would be so much fun. I don't see it. And based on how much in production or in development this movie is at right now, I'm not even so sure we're going to get an animated Mario movie. I don't know. What do you think? Am I being a little too dour right now? Like, where does this information sit with you?
That was a lot to digest.
I know.
You didn't send me all of that content. You just sent me that one arc.
I most certainly did.
You tricked me.
Mwahahaha.
Yeah. I'm as you're sharing all of this stuff, I'm thinking, it takes Pixar at least like 2 to 3 years to go from script to development to processing all the CGI and everything, and to release date. So if they're saying September 2022 and they still haven't decided on the script, that doesn't seem likely.
No, that does not seem likely at all.
But I do want to comment on the idea of having like a whole multiverse of, I have my original Nintendo 64 and Super Nintendo in my shot, right? Like,
And they're beautiful.
Because I'm a long time Nintendo player. Not that I've recently been playing Nintendo stuff, but that was my childhood, right? I even have seen the 1993 Mario film more times than I would care to admit. I don't know how many times, but it was one of those movies that we had taped from the VCR off the television, so I watched it multiple times. And I know it's terrible, but I still watched it a lot. So it would be cool. I mean, it would be cool to see a Super Smash Brothers kind of thing. They did all right with Detective Pikachu, so it's not like they can't have that kind of, video game movie.
That's true. That's a fair point. They did decent numbers with Detective Pikachu, and they did decent numbers with Sonic the Hedgehog.
I think we liked the Ratchet and Clank movie as well. Have you seen that one?
I forgot about that. No, I haven't seen it, but I totally forgot that existed. I mean, there are very few video game movies that have done decently. Like Tomb Raider was okay. That was a decent movie. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Silent Hill do decently well? I don't watch horror movies, so
I don't either. Was Resident Evil, was that a video game?
It was, which spawned like 7 or 8 sequels. I don't know, like way too many. But yeah, I mean, there are a handful of video game movies that have done decently, and I think the big problem, and even Illumination, I'm not the biggest fan of their animation style. They're okay. I haven't seen Secret Life of Pets, but it's done very well. I can't stand the Minions, but everybody loves them. They are universally beloved by all children everywhere. The Despicable Me movies have done very well. Yeah, Illumination is even the Grinch movie that came out. I was very pleasantly surprised with the Illumination version of the Grinch, using Benedict Cumberbatch as the voice of the Grinch. I actually quite liked that movie. Illumination is not my favorite animation studio, but I think this is a good fit for the Super Mario Brothers in that they tell good stories, and trying to marry these two things together. Now, again, let's talk about Shigeru Miyamoto being a part of this thing. What's cool about this is that Miyamoto is very protective of his IPs. So I think we can trust a little bit that he's going to ensure protection of Super Mario and Luigi and, in the story a little bit, so that we're not going to have the same abomination that what we had in 1993. However, I also see that he's not a storyteller per se, right? He's a storyteller when it comes to video games, but he's not a storyteller when it comes to film or television. And story arcs and the intricacies of the nuance and who these characters are and what makes them tick and getting us to believe these characters on screen, that's a completely different skill set, right? And I see Miyamoto being a producer on this film, again, if it ever happens, more as an honorary title, much like Stan Lee was in all of the Marvel movies. Doesn't matter if it was Marvel Entertainment or Marvel Studios, Stan Lee always was an executive producer on all of these properties, not as a creative voice, but just to represent people and himself who created these characters in the first place, right? So, again, Stan Lee didn't have any creative input as to say, oh, no. Captain America does not act like this. He acts like this. He didn't come in and do any of that. He let the creatives do their jobs. And I feel that that same kind of honorary title would be bestowed upon Miyamoto in a similar fashion. Dominica, do you have a different take on that? Or do you think he's going to play a more active role in figuring out the story of these characters?
From the article you sent me, it sounded like he was going to have more impact. Like I was picturing the kind of influence that J.K. Rowling had on the Harry Potter movies. That kind of level of, of influence.
Yeah, I mean, like, he very well could. He very well might. There's nothing specifically to say that he won't. I just think that the storytelling skill set is a very different skill set than what he's developed in video games over the past 35 years. Now, is that to say that he can't do it, or he's totally inept or incapable of doing that? No, not at all. I'm a comedian, but guess what? I'm also a YouTuber. And guess what? I'm also a flight attendant. And guess what? I'm also a director. And I wear many different hats. So just because I'm good at one thing doesn't mean that I'm not going to be good at something else. I understand that. It's just that typically history has shown us that that's not generally how it goes.
I follow a lot of comic book writers on Twitter, and I have kind of learned over the last few years that I've been reading a lot of comic books that a lot of writers transition between like writing for TV, writing for comic books, and writing for film. So why not video games too? Yeah.
Exactly. Why not video games too? Why not? Why not? Let's make this happen. Anyway, guys, we've spent way more than enough time dissecting this and pulling this apart. I don't necessarily see a Super Mario Brothers animated film being produced by Illumination and distributed through Universal Pictures. I don't necessarily see that happening anytime soon, but maybe this could be more of a secret project that I'm not aware of. Maybe you guys have more information than I do. If you do, please send me those links. I would be very interested to know, but even more than that, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about this movie? Do you think it's going to happen? Do you think it's going to be delayed? Do you think they're going to stay on track with 2022? I don't know. Anything could happen at this point. Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know those thoughts. All right, guys, our next bit of movie news today that we're going to talk about and kind of dissect. This is kind of one of those fun things. It doesn't matter the news story that we're going to talk about, and let's just break it open. Let's just talk about it. Rob Zombie is directing the upcoming Munsters movie, the live-action Munsters movie, and he's not just recreating or rebuilding the house that the Munsters live in, which is 1313 Mockingbird Lane. He's building all of Mockingbird Lane. He's creating the whole thing. I think that's actually kind of ambitious. I think that's kind of fun. It's kind of ambitious. Let's jump into this article really quick from MovieWeb. Munsters director Rob Zombie isn't just rebuilding the Munsters house for his movie. He's constructing all of Mockingbird Lane. Previously, Zombie revealed the blueprints to 1313 Mockingbird Lane, the home that houses our favorite monster family. Looking to stay faithful to the original TV series, Zombie says he's looking to make the house exact. And it shows with the blueprints' attention to even the most intricate of details. So we know that the Munsters home will be specifically built for for Rob Zombie's movie, but the filmmaker's actually going much further than that. On his personal Instagram account, Rob Zombie posted a new image of a dirt lot in Budapest. So, in case you didn't know, they're filming this movie in Budapest, or Budapest, as Black Widow would remind us is the pronunciation, revealing that this would be the future home of Mockingbird Lane. He also attached a brief video showing how the actual street will look once it's built using computer graphics, announcing that he's going to also build all of Mockingbird Lane along with the Munster family home. So here's his Instagram post that he posted here, along with some of the blueprints. We can, kind of scroll through. Here's just a really quick video computer graphic. It does not last very long, as you can see. If this is going to come up. All right, here we go. Yeah, it's like a 3-second animatic coming out of the Munsters' home, going into Mockingbird Lane, which, it's very evocative of that 1960s, 1950s, 1960s kind of feel. He wants to make this exact. He wants to make this exact for like a representation of what the Munsters were, bringing them back to their roots. Does this mean it's going to be a good movie? No. We all know that Rob Zombie is a massive Munsters fan. Even I am a huge Munsters fan. I love the Munsters. I dare say I like the Munsters more than I like the Addams Family. But, just because he's paying this much attention to detail does not mean that this is going to be a good movie. I want it to be a good movie. I want it to be a fun movie. And I think Rob Zombie is a really interesting person to direct this film. He's going to have a very interesting take on this, as opposed to someone J.J. Abrams. If J.J. Abrams were to do a Munsters movie, it would be a very different kind of Munsters movie. Or if Wes Anderson were to do a Munster, that would actually be really interesting. A Wes Anderson Munsters movie. But this is a Rob Zombie film. And he's going to bring even Sam Raimi. If Sam Raimi who's also a very acclaimed, celebrated horror director. If Sam Raimi were to do a Munsters movie, it would be very different from what Rob Zombie is going to bring to the screen. Now, this also needs to be noted. Rob Zombie is not the greatest director of all time. He's okay. Sorry, I'm clicking through a whole bunch of different things. Rob Zombie is okay. He's not the best director of all time. But I think there's something about the Munsters. There's something about him doing a Munsters movie that I could potentially see this being his landmark movie. This could be his foray into a larger cinematic experience where he's taken seriously as a director. I could see that happening. Maybe it won't. But Domenico, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen any Rob Zombie movies? Are you familiar with any of his movies? How do you think this is going to play out?
I know his name. I don't know if I've seen any of his films, so I probably haven't. You might, if you listen to him for me, then I would be able to let you know. He did
House of a Thousand Corpses. He did The Devil's Rejects. There's a few others in there, but he's primarily a horror film director. Where he does really over the top. Oh, he did the remake of Halloween, and I think he did a remake of Texas Chainsaw.
Okay. So I did see a couple of the more recent Halloween movies, so maybe I did. But my instinct was when I read about that whole article was, I hope it's not another remake of Psycho, how they did it shot for shot, right? And it was terrible. Why would you do that?
In Gus Van Zant's defense, let me say this: that had never been done before. In his defense, that had never been done before. Did it work? No, it failed spectacularly. So hard. It failed so hard, but I applaud his attempt to try and recreate something shot for shot, line for line. It was exact with different faces and in color. I applaud the attempt, but boy, oh boy, did that fail spectacularly. You were correct in that.
So that was my main, but I'm also not that familiar with the Munsters content. So, I probably compares to the original anyway. Are
you still there? Dominica. This happens all the time with Skype, you guys. I apologize. Dominica, if you're still there, do me a favor, hang up, call me right back. This is frustrating, you guys. This is frustrating. Anyway, as we attempt to get Dominica back on the line, you guys let me know what your thoughts of the new upcoming Rob Zombie film, The Munsters, is going to be. Are you excited for his attention to detail and that he's trying to recreate this home from scratch in an exact medium, and that he's also going to be building Mockingbird Lane itself? How do you think that is going to play into the story? Do you think that he is the right fit to direct a Munsters live action film? I'm interested in hearing your thoughts. Jump on down to the comment section below. Okay, guys. As you have just witnessed, we're having a few technical details. Don't go away. Don't go away. We'll be right back. I'm going to hang up on Dominica and try to get her back on the line. And we're back, you guys. We do apologize for that. We have Dominica back on the line, and all is well with the world once again. All right, so that being said, let's jump in and take our next bit of movie news. And our next bit of movie news today is Clerks 3 is officially happening at Lionsgate. Kevin Smith is coming back with the entire original cast. And this is something that has been in development for a very long time. Kevin Smith has had multiple permutations of a Clerks 3 script. We know that, kind of mid to late last year, there was a little bit of talk going on as, Kevin Smith has a Clerks 3 script ready to go. But it doesn't matter if Kevin Smith had that script ready to go. Unless the movie got greenlit, it wasn't going anywhere. Like, he can't financially produce this movie all by himself. In Alfred Hitchcock, he is not. Fun fact, that's actually how Psycho got made. He financed the whole thing by himself. Anyway, but yeah, Kevin Smith needed a studio to back him on this, and finally, Lionsgate said, yes, let's do it. Let's move forward. So let's jump into this article really quick here. Article from MovieWeb. This was the official announcement that Kevin Smith made on his Twitter. He said, to be great is to go on. To go on is to go far. To go far is to return. On August 2nd, for my 51st birthday, I returned to Quick Stop, the little store that started it all, with my friends Dante, Randall, Jay, Silent Bob, Becky, and Elias. Thank you, Lionsgate, for making Clerks 3. And of course, he included the article from Deadline announcing that this is happening. This particular article goes on to say that all the same people are coming back, which also includes Rosario Dawson. She is coming back to reprise the role as Becky. Kevin Smith wrote the screenplay. He's going to return to direct as well. The story, we know, is going to follow his own real-life experiences of having a heart attack, and how that has influenced his choices in life moving forward. We know that he's become vegan as a result of surviving a massive heart attack. The Widowmaker is the type of heart attack that he had, which typically claims its victims. And Kevin Smith survived miraculously. So he's incorporating that story into the life of Randall, who's the clerk at the Quickie store, whatever it's called. And now the internet is going to tear me apart for not remembering the name of the Clerks, the Quick Stop.
Yes.
Thank you for saving me, Dominica, from the rapture, also known as the comment section of YouTube. Thank you for that. But yeah, we know that Kevin Smith is taking Randall along this journey of making him kind of an indie filmmaker, which is a very meta tale of his own story in creating Clerks in the first place, which is kind of cool. I think that's kind of cool. But these are my own personal thoughts, obviously. Kevin Smith, in my opinion, has regressed as a filmmaker. I don't know. Look at his latest film, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Not a great movie. It got a lot of love from his fans because he made that movie for himself, and he made that film for the fans. Also, Tusk, not a great movie. Not well received, rather, shall I say. Yoga Hosers, I will just come out and say, not a great movie. But there is a lot of love from Kevin Smith fans. People love to watch his movies. I watched Jay and Silent Bob Reboot just because I love Kevin Smith. I may not love all of his movies. I may not think all of his films are high art cinema. And he also knows the kinds of movies that he makes. So Clerks 2 has a certain type of pedigree. Clerks 3, now that how many years has gone by since Clerks 2 came. I think Clerks 2 came out when I was in college, so at least 15 years ago. And I don't know. I feel like his talent has regressed as a live-action filmmaker. So yeah, I don't know exactly what to expect from this kind of a movie. Dominica, are you a Kevin Smith fan? Do you watch all his films? Do you watch none of his films? Are you looking forward to Clerks 3 now that it's officially been greenlit? Where do you stand with this? How does this strike you?
I feel similarly to you. I'm a kind of a mixed thing. I have this is Brody from Mallrats.
Brody!
So and I do have a box set of just Chasing Amy and Clerks.
Aww.
Now, I will say...
Oh, goodbye.
I will say I was not a big fan of the original Clerks film. I loved Chasing Amy and Mallrats.
The internet is going to tear you apart. How dare you have an opinion?
I mean, I watched Chasing Amy at a time when I was still kind of figuring out my own sexuality, I think. So it spoke to me at a different kind of level. I also really just adored Jason Lee. Like, he was really good.
Who doesn't adore Jason Lee?
So, his movies are better when they've got Jason Lee in them. That's my opinion. I have not seen the Jay and Silent Bob reboot. I did watch Tusk and Yoga Hosers. I actually watched Yoga Hosers with Kevin Smith doing a Q&A at a local comedy club in San Francisco. So, yeah, and I also attended a different Q&A with him. I went to a Jason Mewes doing a storytelling kind of thing where he just talked about his life in San Jose. So, like, it feels like a part of the fabric of my life to have kind of encountered his content. Yeah, I like his earlier stuff better too.
So what do you think that we can expect from Clerks 3? Do you think that he's going to step up? Because, like I said, he has kind of been regressing as a filmmaker. Do you think he's going to step up? And, I understand that you didn't necessarily care for the first Clerks movie, but it is the film that started his career. It's objectively, and I'm going to say objectively good, because if it wasn't, it would not have spawned a career like his.
Right, and I respect it for that side of things. I think I enjoyed Clerks 2 more.
I did as well.
But movies. I really like Rosario Dawson, so I'm glad that she's coming back. She's been one of my favorite people in the cast of watching all of the Netflix Marvel series. So that aspect will be interesting.
Oh, I have an action figure of Rosario Dawson as playing. Hold please.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just wandering around somewhere else. It's not even in your background.
All right, here we are. This is Rosario Dawson as Night Nurse.
That's really
cool. Night Nurse Rosario Dawson from the Daredevil. She's in this pose because she's sitting on a subway train, so I don't want to take her out of the pose. But yeah. Anyway, as you were saying.
Yeah. So I feel like Kevin Smith does better when he does write from his real life experience, because that's what a lot of his earlier stuff was, right? So maybe Clerks 3 will be a return to that sort of thing.
That's actually a very astute observation. That could that actually makes me a little bit more excited about this, because up until you just said that, I was like, I mean, I'll go see it, but But the way that you put that actually makes a lot more sense and makes me much more interested in seeing this movie. My question for all of you yoga hosers is, what do you think of Clerks 3? I know a lot of people are excited for it. Especially now that it's been greenlit by Lionsgate. But what do you think of Kevin Smith coming back to direct? Do you think he has regressed as a filmmaker in the same way that I feel that he has? Do you hate me for saying that? Should I burn in a fiery pit of doom for the rest of all existence for even thinking such a thing? Let me know down in the comment section below. But please be kind. Please be kind. All right, you guys, we have one last bit of movie news to talk about, and this comes in the form of an email from the Nerd Zone. And Nerd Zone says, so previously, in a previous email, Nerd Zone was talking about other video game movies, primarily the upcoming Super Mario Brothers animated film, but in a separate part of a same email, he says, second news is based on an animated series called Sonic Prime, which actually got announced last year, but has now got its concept art leaked. This series will be done by Man of Action and will be a Netflix exclusive series. Now, first of all, let me address the Man of Action part first. If you're not familiar with Man of Action Entertainment, they are the animation studio behind shows like Ben 10, The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Ultimate Spider-Man, Big Hero 6, and on and on and on and on. They've got tons of credits to their name. But one of the things that I want to focus on right now is some of this concept art that leaked. Let's jump back into this article from comic book. I think it's comicbook.com. Where did my thing go? There we go. From comicbook.com. Yes, the Sonic Prime leak reveals a first look at the Netflix series. Our first look at Sonic Prime, an upcoming 3D animated TV series from Netflix, has been revealed, but not courtesy of Sega, Man of Action Entertainment, or Wildbrain, but a new leak. The leak comes the way of Patrick Horan via ArtStation and consists of several pieces of concept art. In other words, none of it is indicative of how the show will actually look, but it does possibly provide insight into the show's art direction. So on and so on. Like, they kind of talk about what it is that we do see, what it is that we don't see. But let's actually jump in and take a look at this stuff for ourselves. Here is Sonic, kind of in this neon world, surrounded by various images of Dr. Egghead himself. As we move forward, here we have a picture of him with Tails. Now, look at his gloves and his shoes. Like, these are very futuristic looking. They look a little large and a little cumbersome, but, again, it's an animated series. I'm sure it'll be fine. In another image, here he is striking the classic loser pose. You can see kind of a beaten up, is that Q*bert? It kind of looks like Q*bert off in the bottom left-hand corner. It's probably not Q*bert. Well, let's be honest, it kind of looks like Q*bert. And, of course, like the tortoise shell that's just kind of sitting there, very evocative of kind of a Super Mario Brothers kind of reference. Again, is it? Probably not. But again, these are the images that are being conjured up when I see them. And of course, in the bottom right-hand corner, we see the drill-nosed robot created by Egghead himself. Here we have another image of Sonic kind of standing over Egghead. Looks like he's been bested a little bit. We have a few more images. Here's one of Sonic kind of in the jungle, and I believe that character is Amy, just, kind of hiding, figuring themselves out. And here's one last image of Sonic just about to jump through various portals, and we'll see how that ends up going. Now, again, are these finished images? No, it's all concept art. The actual television show will be in 3D animation. These are just concept images. All of those backgrounds, all that specific imagery will be changed for the actual show itself. But all of this stuff is just kind of a little bit more evocative of what we can expect to see in kind of like a Sonic the Hedgehog kind of show. Dominica, what do you think of these images? And again, it needs to be stated. Really cool images by themselves do not a good show make. You can have the best animation, you can have the best art design on the planet, but still have a garbage television show. But do these images give you hope at all?
I mean, the art looks good. Seeing the one with the thing that you said looked like Cuba and the tortoiseshell made me think it could be like Wreck-It Ralph-esque with those different video game things. Just that image. But I don't think that's what this will be. That's what I thought in that particular image. It'll be interesting. I wasn't aware of this being a series. I've not seen the recent Sonic the Hedgehog movie. Aren't they making it a second, like a sequel to the movie as well?
It has wrapped filming currently. Yes, they've filmed it. They are in post-production as we speak.
Yeah. So, I mean, personally, I would love to see like revisiting some of the old kind of animation style in some form. You know, the original series of like Super Mario Brothers, the animated series, that was fun. So sometimes the updated like style is not my favorite.
Yeah.
But it works. So I don't know, like it remains to be seen.
And I think therein lies the key. It remains to be seen. We'll just kind of have to wait and see, kind of take a wait and see approach to this. It looks cool. Like, I like the way that this looks. Translate this look into a 3D format. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. I still have yet to see, you're talking about updated looks and whatever. The new Looney Tunes movie, Space Jam. A New Legacy. I haven't seen it yet. It has not been getting favorable reviews, but just based on the trailers that I've seen 1,000 times, I love the 3D animation. I think that very much does work in favor of the Looney Tunes themselves. It's an updated look. It's modern. It's sleek. It doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't detract from what the Looney Tunes are or like what they represent. I think it very much adds to that experience. So if this animation studio if Man of Action is able to kind of translate in that same way, kind of an updated Sonic the Hedgehog look and feel to it, I think that as far as animation style, it could be great. It could be some of the best Sonic animation that we've seen so far. Quite possibly including the movie too. I don't know. But again, the story needs to be there. Character development needs to be there. It's not gonna matter unless we have a good story and good storytellers behind the camera telling that story and know how to construct those stories. But yeah, you guys, I want to hear from you. I want to, like, what are your thoughts on these leaked images of the concept design? Now, these images have since been yanked back into the internet sphere, but because you can't ever erase anything once it gets on the internet, these images will live in perpetuity. But that also is indicative that these images were not supposed to be leaked. Anyway, what do you think of these images? Do you think the animation style looks good? Do you think it's going to translate well into 3D? What are your thoughts? Do you think the show is going to be great or not? I don't know. Jump on down in the comment section below and let me know those thoughts. All right, you guys. Wow, what did I just jump into? There I am. We've been going for about an hour now. Let's check in with Dominica really quick. Dominica, how's your timetable? We're gonna jump in and take some live questions and comments from the comment section. How are you doing on time?
I'm fine. I don't have anything scheduled today. That's why I was like, I can do this.
Great. I'm gonna keep it for the next 5 hours. Here we go. 5 hours worth of comments. Oh man, that would be rough if we had 5 hours worth of comments to get
have to feed my kids at some point.
them. Just make some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for them. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. All right, guys, with all of that done out of the way, let's jump in and take some of your live comments.
It's alive! It's alive!
All right, you guys, you have been firing in live comments and questions all show long, so let's jump into the comment section and see what you guys have to say. I need to back up just a little bit here. All right, and our first comment comes from NerdZone. NerdZone says, can I please buy the SNES and the N64 in the background from Dominica for £2 million, please? Dominica, you just got yourself a huge offer. NerdZone is willing to pay you £2 million. Hold on, let me do the math real quick. Let's see. I believe the conversion is 1.4 right now. 2 mil. No, it's 20 million. 2 million pounds. At a conversion of 1.4. That is. I should have been able to do this in my head. $1,428,571.43. Are you willing to part with your SNES and N64 for $1.4 million?
Isn't the British pound worth more than the US dollar? Did you do it the right way around? Or am I confused just because of Australia's terrible versus
You are
British
correct.
pound?
Hold on. Yeah. No, yeah. You're I divided. I should have multiplied. Yeah, you're exactly correct. So £2 million. Oh, come on. Doesn't matter. Are you willing to part with your stuff for £2 million?
No. No. My kids play this stuff sometimes. They've gotten into seeing what it's like to play old school video games.
Well, NerdZone, I got some bad news for you. Sorry, buddy. She has to do the right thing. She has to indoctrinate her own children into the same games that she and I grew up with all those years ago. I was going to say you and I grew up with, but I think I got a few years on you there, buddy. I think I got a few years on you. NerdZone says, we've also got a Schitt's Creek shirt and Final Fantasy 1 today. Awesome. That's true. It's true. Dominica, should we show off our t-shirts in their full glory?
This is actually a mashup between Final Fantasy and Pokemon.
I was going to say, that looks a lot like Charmander.
Charmander Black Mage.
And don't forget my Star Wars hat going on right here. We got a whole bunch of stuff going on. NerdZone says he explained his hard editing process, so the vid isn't up yet. I believe this is in reference to the original email that you sent in. Hold on, let me jump up to the email real quick, where you said that you did an interview with a popular YouTuber called Siremore. I'm calling it Siremore, talking about your disability, where you asked if he could mention my YouTube channel, to which, my goodness, what a generous offer, sir. Thank you so much for that. You said that he explained his hard editing process, so the vid isn't up yet. Yeah, I went through his channel and started looking through the videos, and I noticed that he hadn't posted one since last week, so I kind of figured it was probably going to take a while. NerdZone says he was really nice in VR, and it was nice to answer all his questions. Yeah, I mean, and again, like going back to Siremore. I was like, because I just read your next comment. Screwed me up in the brain. Siremore. Yeah, it's a really cool concept of like finding people in VR and interviewing them. And kind of like getting to know them as human beings and like struggles in life and what we all go through. I think it's a really clever idea. So I'm very much looking forward to watching your episode up on his channel. Nerdzone says, didn't mean Shigeru Miyamoto created Nintendo. I meant Nintendo themselves. Just thought I'd say, yeah, right, yes. So kind of going back to your comments of Super Mario Brothers and Miyamoto creating the character. Yes. I mean, I feel like that all made up for itself in the context there. Nerdzone says, I just love it when Nintendo announces things we expect it, but we don't expect the way that they're going to announce it. And I think that is very much indicative of what it is that Nintendo stands for. Dominico, we know for a long time that Nintendo has a long-standing history of, oh, they have a new console coming out. Great. Show me your note. What are you? What? Excuse me. This is crazy. Like even down to this Nintendo Switch. Okay, great. We're going to have like a small gaming handheld experience thing. Nobody in their wildest dreams expected the Switch to have its own handheld controllers that you can take around for you. And it is its own handheld console. Nobody expected that.
Yeah.
Even the Nintendo Wii was a game changer. To which other, do you remember when Xbox came out with the Kinect? Xbox, in response to Nintendo's Wii, they came out with Xbox Kinect, and it was like movement tracking. It like read your face and it read where your hands were, and then you didn't need a controller. You just like would wave your hands around and like move around in the space without the need of a controller, and it was cool, and it was kind of kitschy for like a year, but then it died out. And the Nintendo Wii still stuck around. So Nintendo really has a way of connecting with its audience and creating a solid product. And yeah, to your point, Nerdzone, Nintendo has a way of announcing things that you expect, but what you don't expect is the way that they're going to announce it. I love that. Dominica, do you have a specific example of how you were able to relate to Nintendo in that way?
It's reminding me of when they last year released the 3 Mario Brothers games like from the past, bringing it out of the vault, kind of Disney per se. And then like once they go back in, you're never going to be able to get it. That game is still available. I bought it on release. Thinking, I don't have a lot of time to get it.
Which actually, what you just said leads right into what Nerdzone's next comment, where he says Nintendo loves to keep things secret, even if it's already released. Anyone remember the Virtual Boy? Do you remember the Virtual Boy?
I have no idea what that is.
Correct me, Nerdzone, please correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the Virtual Boy a different take on the Game Boy? Hold on, I gotta look this up now. Hold, please. Virtual Boy. Okay. Okay. So we're both wrong. Virtual Boy is VR for Nintendo.
They have VR stuff?
Virtual Boy, this is from Wikipedia. The Virtual Boy is a 32-bit tabletop portable video game console developed and manufactured by Nintendo, released in 1995. It was marketed... Wow, I had no idea about any of this. It was marketed as the first console capable of displaying stereoscopic 3D graphics. The player uses the console like a head-mounted display, placing the head against the eyepiece. This is here, look at this. This is VR, but plugged in 95. What?
I was not aware of this.
What?
I was still playing my Super Nintendo. Was that 95, or was I still playing my NES in 95?
All right, here's another look at it. Here's another look at it. Look at that. You can see it's clearly a VR headset with games that you plug into it. That's
wow, ahead of its time.
Right?
A couple of decades.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. All right, let's jump back into the comments here. Nerdzone says, well, let me tell you a funny story. I was tired watching the Taika Waititi video, and while I was watching the video, I was going to email you that news coming from your vid. Then I realized it was... I realized that that's very meta. That's very meta of you. So you watched my video and thought, "Oh wow, this is great news that I need to tell Mike about." And then when you came to your senses, you're like, "Wait a second, this is Mike telling me this information." That's wonderful. That's I love how like just being tired gives us enough material to like snap us to our anyway. It was, I don't know, that's beautiful. It's an absolutely beautiful thing. How did I scroll through so many comments? What did I do? Where did we go? Sorry, you guys, I totally lost my place here. Okay, Virtual Boy doing the vid. Cool. Detective Pikachu is different, as even though Nintendo only Pokemon has sort of formed into its own company. Detective Pikachu is different, even though Nintendo owns Pokemon. Pokemon has sort of formed into its own company. I'm not familiar with kind of Pokemon kind of breaking off into its own entity. Are you familiar with that, Dominica?
That sounds accurate. I mean, I don't know in terms of like company, like how it's built out and stuff. I mean, you've got Pokemon Go, which is created by Niantic. That's not Nintendo.
But I'm sure that's also licensed too.
So yeah, they seem to be able to do their own thing without needing to worry about what Nintendo thinks.
Interesting. I will keep an eye on stuff like that. Sounds cool. Nerdzone says Despicable Me is bad, and Despicable Me is famous for taking over Facebook with its bad memes. I mean, it's very memeable, especially those stupid minions. I hate the minions. I love to. That's the thing. I love to hate the minions. You know, like when you see that villain, that one villain in a movie, they're like, "Ooh, I love to hate this villain." That's how we feel about the minions. Minions are, gross. But for some reason, they've latched on to society. I liked the first Despicable Me movie. I thought it was fine. I never saw the third one. The second one was okay. Whatever. I know my niece and nephew love them. They love them. But yeah, I mean, I think there is something to be said there for recognition of a bad film. I don't necessarily think that Despicable Me is a bad film. I think the Minions movies are. I don't know. Dominica, you have kids. Where do they stand on the Despicable Me Minions argument?
Well, we haven't watched any Minions content for a while since the Minions movie. I think that was the last thing that we watched. But my younger kid especially loved the Minions. But yeah, the Minions movie, they're better in the smaller doses in the like supporting role rather than leading kind of content.
Yeah. I think we've had enough with their bananas. Nerdzone says, I can support your Shigeru Miyamoto as a storyteller, as one day I realized New Super Mario Brothers U, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and Zelda Breath of the Wild had the same idea of the main villain taking over the place that they live as the story. Yeah, I mean, yeah. A lot of these stories keep getting, like, regurgitated and repeated and I mean, there's something Nerd Zone, are you familiar with the Lifetime network? If you're not, Lifetime it's a network here in the United States. It's been around forever. And every Lifetime original movie is exactly the same. In fact, a friend of mine, this is serendipitous, a friend of mine just messaged me last night. Every now and again, we'll text each other and ask each other just like weird random questions. And the weird random question he asked me last night is, pitch your most typical Lifetime original movie. And my Lifetime original movie that I pitched to him was a single mother comes home from work to find out that her son has yet to come home from school. Dun, dun, dun. So that's between that and like, oh, my husband's cheating on me and he faked his own death. Like that kind of like really classic over the top drama stuff is, it's grotesque. Dominica, how do you feel with video games regurgitating storylines?
I haven't played a lot of video games recently, so I haven't noticed. The video games I play more are like the Final Fantasy ones, but I still like, and Kingdom Hearts. Like those are the games that I played in the pandemic. Were Kingdom Hearts 3, Final Fantasy Lightning Returns, 13 Lightning Returns, and Final Fantasy 15. So I don't follow a lot of like what the storylines are and being regurgitated.
Fair play. Let's see. I remember a video of a woman spending loads of money on recreating the Munsters house to live in with her husband. That's all I know about the show. I'm not familiar with that particular story, but I mean, Munsters was kind of a knockoff version of the Addams Family that kind of became its own thing, right? I loved the theme song. Dun 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 dum 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 womp dun womp dun. It's a great theme song. I liked the characters. I like that it was tied a little bit more closely with Halloween as opposed to the Addams Family just being purveyors of the macabre. It's same exact thing, same exact concept, but it's, I don't know, I've always had a special place in my heart for the Munsters, even though maybe the Addams Family was a little bit more original in that way. Dominica, are you familiar with the Munsters?
Not really. I mean, that's where I got kicked off Skype before I froze. I'm not really that familiar with it. Are they meant to be like kind of humorous in the same way that Addams Family is as well?
It's the fish out of water tale. Same thing as anything else. They're a fish out of water. They don't understand what makes them weird or different. In the same way that the Addams Family don't understand what makes them weird or different. They are attracted to all things death and dark and weird and macabre. The same way that the Munsters are. When the outside world views them as like, oh, you're the weirdos. We don't like you because you do things differently. Like, intrinsically, there's a life lesson there. Just because you're different doesn't mean you're bad or weird or harmful. It just means that you're into something that other people aren't. And you can learn from that. So, obviously, there's the life lesson there. But the Munsters, they just had a different way of going about it. It was, Herman Munster is Frankenstein's monster, essentially, right? And he's just kind of like a dope. Doop, boop, boop, ba-doop, ba-doop, boo. Just going around and kind of the bumbling idiot archetype. And, he does what he does, and he's kind of goofy and silly, and I don't know, Fred Gwynn played an excellent Herman Munster, I think. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Addams Family, it's the same thing, but it's just different family dynamic and different characters. Let's see, where'd we go? Nerdzone says, just thought I'd give my review on Black Widow. Ooh, woo! Here we go. And say I thought the dynamic between the family was interesting, and after I watched your Taskmaster video and definitely agreed with you. Well, thank you. Let's see. As my sisters, while I was talking about the film, didn't even remember. Okay, yeah. So Nerdzone continues. As my sisters, while I was talking about the film, didn't even remember who Taskmaster was. Yes. Okay. So, if you didn't see the show last week, if you didn't see my review of Taskmaster, or kind of talking about Taskmaster a little bit, Dominica, you were present last week while we were talking about Taskmaster. The movie, I won't give it 2 thumbs up. I will give it 1 thumb up. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. I don't think it's top tier Marvel. However, it is far from bottom tier Marvel. I like, as you say, I like the family dynamic. I thought that was really interesting. I like how slowly the movie how slowly the movie moved in certain portions, because it really gave us that emotional gravitas that I think it needed. And then when it picked up the pace, it really picked up the pace. But again, I reiterate, there wasn't narrative purpose for Taskmaster. It was interesting. It was kind of cool. I like that Taskmaster is now a character who is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but drastically misused. Drastically misused. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Anything to add?
No, I said all my stuff about that last week.
All right, let's move on. Nerdzone says, I also watched Space Jam 2 and thought it was good. Not great. Good as it is fan service for Warner Brothers fans, and LeBron needs some acting lessons, man. And Don Cheadle made me laugh. I have yet to see it. I know a lot of the reviews have been overwhelmingly negative. A lot of my friends on Facebook said that they got like 15-20 minutes into the movie and then turned it off. I don't know if I'll necessarily turn it off. I mean, it looks fun. The trailer really makes it look fun. I'm not expecting cinematic treasure here. I think we can all agree the first Space Jam movie was not good. That movie is not good. So what are we expecting from... I mean, it can... only get better? I don't know. I think nostalgia is a very dangerous method of measuring a good film. Would you agree with that?
I don't know.
Because look at this. We like to look at films that we've seen as children and say, oh, I liked that as a child, so that means it's a good movie. And then you wait 20 years and then you go back and rewatch it, come to find out, oh, this is terrible. Why did I love this as a kid?
It depends. It depends on the film. Because I've watched plenty from my childhood and I've thought, oh, this is still great. Like,
well, no. I'm not saying everything that we watched as children was bad. Right. I'm just saying sometimes nostalgia, sometimes we can remember a bad movie as being a good movie. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm just trying to remember what I've watched that's happened to me too. I feel like a lot of like 80s like teen movies probably didn't age well.
Fair.
But mostly I just rewatch stuff that did age well. So, it depends, but nostalgia definitely plays a role in the kinds of things that I watch these days. Hence why we've watched those more recent Kevin Smith movies that weren't that great. just because of the reminiscing of knowing that I liked Kevin Smith films in the past. I have not watched one of his earlier films recently. Would I feel the same way about them now? I don't know.
I mean, and again, like I'm not saying that you can't go back to a movie that's bad that you saw in your childhood and not enjoy the experience, because again, it brings back a lot of feelings of nostalgia, right? But I do think that time and maturity allows us to recognize things for what they are. A bad movie is a bad movie. When you were a kid, you thought it was the greatest movie ever. Like, let's take Teddy Ruxpin, for example. The live action Teddy Ruxpin movie is complete trash. But I loved it as a child. And I can still go back and watch it through nostalgic eyes and remember, I'm reminded of the feelings that I had for that character and also my circumstances as a child. And that is favorable to me. That is something those are feelings that I cherish. But it's still a bad movie, but I still like to watch that as a bad movie. I just think that it's important that we not allow nostalgia to confuse the good with the bad, or rather the bad being good. That's
right. Yeah. So maybe I should rewatch that bad Super Mario film and see what I feel about it.
Again, like I own a DVD copy because they do not make it in Blu-ray. I've checked. I own a DVD copy of Super Mario Brothers, the 1993 Bob Hoskins, John Leguizamo movie. It's so bad, but I hate watch it. You sit there and you hate watch it, and you're like, same thing with Batman and Robin. It's a complete garbage movie, but it's sometimes kind of fun to go back and just be like, no, this is so bad, it's fun. Which is why The Room is a cult classic.
I've been watching Murder, She Wrote with my older kid, because that was a show that I watched with my mum when I was a kid, and it's interesting. I've been having like conversations about how times have changed since then.
Yeah. Have you watched any of the Punky Brewster reboot?
Yeah, I watched the entire reboot, and now we just finished season 1 of the original series. So we went back and watched.
I've yet to go back and rewatch the original series, but I really dug the reboot.
It's so good. I've been working on a blog post about it, like trying to. Like I watched it because when I was a kid, I related to Punky in the sense that I thought I looked a lot like her at the time. I don't know if you saw me post a comparison of me as a kid next to Punky in like a screenshot of Punky in the original series.
Can you send that to me? I would be very interested to take a look at that.
I'll do that.
So cool.
Do you want to do it right now so you can show?
Yeah, if you want. Yeah, text it to me and I'll put it up. All right. So while you're doing that, let's jump back into the comments and take some more of these. I haven't watched Clerks. Nerdzone says, I haven't watched Clerks, but it looks interesting and I really want to watch it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Clerks is one of those classic, I don't want to call it classic cinema, classic indie cult. It's a classic indie cult movie. That's what it is. It's a classic indie cult movie. It was filmed in black and white because of the lighting that Kevin Smith was insistent on using would not look good in color, and they didn't have the money to color correct in post-production. So instead of using this fancy lighting equipment the way that they wanted to make a colorized film, they just shot it in black and white. And after it came out, everyone thought it was this artistic auteur filmmaking decision that he was trying to like make a statement of like the current state of cinema and bringing it back to its original roots and everything, and it was completely unintended, and the film ended up taking on a second meaning that was completely unintended. So whenever he was interviewed about it, Kevin Smith would just say like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to do, oh yeah, that was my intention all the time. But later on, come to find out it wasn't, and it's such a brilliant move. But it's a small movie. It's a small movie that takes place almost entirely inside of a what's it called? The quick stop. It's like a little convenience store. It's like a little bodega. And also, here's another fun fact about it being filmed in black and white. Everybody perceived that this film was taking the perspective of a security camera, because at the time, and even still now today, security cameras primarily are filmed in black and white to preserve the amount of data being saved, right? So at the time, they thought that part of the artistic expression of this movie was the story unfolding from the perspective of a security camera, which added like a third level of meaning of people just saying, oh, well, we're always being spied on and Big Brother this and blah, 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 whatever. But yeah, if you haven't seen Clerks, I highly recommend it. Go watch it. Yeah, it's a rite of passage. It's a movie that's a rite of passage. Nerdzone says, I actually saw a Green Hornet comic signed by Kevin Smith in my comic shop for 50 pounds. I was going to buy it, but I decided not to. That would actually be really cool. Green Hornet, I would say save your money. Green Arrow. So Kevin Smith wrote a story arc for Green Arrow called Quiver. And at the time, Green Arrow, I mean, he's essentially Robin Hood. He's Robin Hood of the DC universe, right? And the way he looked, it just looked goofy. It just looked goofy. So when Kevin Smith wrote the series Quiver, it really kind of brought Green Arrow into this grizzled, real life kind of era, kind of perspective, and it was really cool. So if you happen to see Green Arrow that's signed by Kevin Smith for 50 pounds, buy that. Green Hornet, I'd save your money. Nerdzone says, it's Crash Bandicoot's 25th anniversary today. Got a notification of an anniversary bundle just now. Excuse me. So happy birthday, Crash. Dominica, I know virtually nothing about Crash Bandicoot. Virtually nothing. So today, being his 25th anniversary, what words would you like to offer Crash Bandicoot if you were here to listen?
I don't think I've played any Crash Bandicoot either. We got into the Ratchet and Clank stuff more than Crash Bandicoot. So, have they made any recent ones?
You're the aficionado here. I have no clue.
I don't think they've made any recent ones. If they have, I feel like the releases of any Crash Bandicoot on recent platforms are just putting the old games onto the new discs, the new console.
Keep going for a second.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know. What was it? The 25th anniversary?
Yes.
Wow. So I would have been 12 when it came out. I didn't have an original PlayStation. I didn't get into the PlayStation until the PlayStation 2. So yeah, I didn't get into any of the Crash Bandicoot games. And in fact, I didn't even get into the Ratchet and Clank stuff until my older kid was interested in playing them. And that was PS3. So sorry, Crash.
Sorry, Crash. Okay, sorry about that, you guys. I was busy formulating a photo that I had just received from Dominica. Dominica, as I debuted this photo for the first time here on Gotta Love the Movies, please give us a quick introduction.
So as I said, I was because I enjoyed watching the 2021 series of Punky Brewster on Peacock. I went back into like nostalgia mode and have been watching the original series with my kids as well. So I wanted to work on a blog post about all of my thoughts about that. Because originally I was born in '83. The original Punky Brewster series came out in 1984. So I was one. But I guess when I watched it, it was later on. There were like repeated episodes and stuff. So I connected a lot with the character because we looked similar. She was weird. And so I created this picture of Kim. It took me forever to find a picture where I actually had the same haircut as Punky, because I remember having that haircut. But a lot of the photos that I have from that time period, I don't have that haircut. Like my bangs are gone.
Wow, that is quite a resemblance that you have to Punky Brewster. This is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Yeah. So like freckles and everything, like freckles, bangs, like shorter hair. I used to wear my hair in like the pigtails or the braids that I think she's in pigtails, but I used to wear my hair the same way as well. But I couldn't find any photos where I had the pigtails. I'm just like, I guess this is the closest I can
Dominica,
do.
this is absolutely beautiful, and thank you so much for sharing. We have to jump back into the comment section. We've got a lot more comments to go. So let's try and jump through some of these. Nerdzone says, as a big Sonic fan, it's nice to see another Sonic animated series. Sonic X was a show I grew up with. By the way, the destroyed robot you thought was Q*bert, which is a different game. He destroyed a Badnik. Oh, is that what that was? It looks like Q*bert, but okay, it's a Badnik. Cool. Sonic has been good with animation. I mentioned Sonic X, but in 2014 we got a Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom was a game that was poorly made and had tons of glitches, but the show is actually quite good. This is going to be great, guys. Trust me as a Mr. Sonic lore master. So I'm looking forward to seeing this upcoming Sonic Prime TV series, especially based on the images that we've seen. It looks pretty cool. It looks pretty good. Who knows what the story is going to be like? Hopefully, but I mean, like as Nerdzone points out, a lot of the shows have actually been pretty decent. So if the shows are going to continue on in that same tradition, hopefully, fingers crossed, combined with like really top-notch animation from the Man of Action film studio, I think it could be really cool. Really, really cool. Let's jump in. Keith Foster sends us a message. Keith Foster says, now I've lost my spot with Keith Foster. Why do I do this? Why does this happen all the time? Okay, Keith Foster Kid says, ooh, I disagree with you on the look of the Looney Tunes. I thought they looked terrible. Interesting. Keith Foster goes on to say, they looked so bad. Rendering them in a three-dimensional space, they lost their toon-ness, in my opinion. Keith, we are now at odds once again, my friend. I haven't seen the movie, but I really dug the 3D look to them. Because again, they pulled it out as a story point in the trailer. They brought it out as a story point that there's a reason for them going from a 2D look to a 3D look. And I don't know, I enjoyed seeing the hair on Bugs Bunny's face. I enjoyed, seeing like the three-dimensional look to these characters. I thought it looked fantastic. And I do disagree with you that it took took away from their tunedness. I just thought it was just a more updated, just a different version of that. Yeah, I'm not going to say you're wrong, because you're not wrong. It's just a difference of opinion is all. Dominica, do you have a third difference of opinion, or whose side are you taking?
I was just looking up the graphics from the original Space Jam, because I had misremembered how that animation style was.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was just 2D. It was just 2D.
Yeah. So, I haven't really paid that close attention to the new one. You know, I didn't even know that they were making one until I heard the controversy about them removing Pepe Le Pew.
Oh, yeah. That whole chestnut.
Yeah, so I've not looked at the pictures of the animation very closely.
All right. Well, that's a non-opinion then. Thank you.
I gave very big opinions about other things earlier about Kevin Smith movies that you think that people are going to get mad at me about. So I will save my opinions about things that I don't have an opinion about yet, because
Well, you may actually have an opinion about this next comment from Nerd Zone. He says, I like Final Fantasy VII, and I think Sephiroth is the scariest villain in video game history. Everybody knows I'm not a gamer. I don't play video games. There's a few video games that I like to play. I enjoy certain VR games, but on the whole, I am not a gamer. I don't know who Sephiroth is. Dominica, what are your thoughts about Nerd Zone throwing the gauntlet and saying that Sephiroth is the scariest villain in video game history?
I haven't played Final Fantasy VII. I'm sorry. I played the very beginning of the original one, not the remake. So I'm not that familiar. I watched the movie of the movie sequel of Final Fantasy VII. So I know vaguely who the main characters are, the ones that you play, but I don't know the villain.
Well, here it is on Gotta Love Them Movies. Sephiroth is the scariest villain in video game history. Keith Foster Kid says, I'm less concerned with new stories than how... Sorry, did I make this right? Yeah. I'm less concerned with new stories than how the story is told. Every story has been told by now. That's why tropes become a thing. I don't care if the story is original as long as it's well told. I agree with you. I completely agree with you. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is in reference to we were talking about with Mario before in creating new stories. It just needs to be a well-told story. And I agree with you. It's the specifics change. Like when cell phones became a thing, the way that people communicate with each other in stories became different. Because now we have cell phones. You don't have to be at home anymore to answer a call. You can be in your car. You can be out walking in a park. You can be on an airplane and receive a phone call. If you're on an airplane, don't answer your phone. That's a whole other kettle of fish. But anyway, the method of storytelling changes a little bit, or the specificity changes a little bit. But yeah, you're right. Every story has already been told for the most part. Where do you stand with this, Dominica? Agree? Disagree?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. As long as I can feel like a connection to the characters in some way, or they're interesting characters, interesting story, rather than.
Sorry, I just yawned while you were speaking, and that seemed so rude. My apologies. I'm just sitting here like. So I did not. Man, that was an ill-timed yawn. I'm sorry, guys. My apologies.
I coughed.
I'm sorry. As you were saying, please continue.
Yeah, characters and story are my big thing. If you don't make me care about the characters, then you can have the most impressive cinematography and action pack sequences and stuff. But if I don't care about the characters, I don't care.
Fast and Furious.
Wait, I like those movies.
Again, you're allowed to like movies, but I think it's important to recognize they are bad movies.
Very far-fetched
Yes.
and unrealistic. But the characters are interesting.
They're underdeveloped and they're so poorly crafted. Granted, I've only seen 1 through 4. I haven't seen 5 through 8 or 5 through 9, I guess.
Oh. They just get more and more wild as time goes on. I have not seen the latest one that just came out, but I have seen all of the other ones apart from Tokyo Drift. I didn't watch that one because it didn't have the main characters.
I feel that. All right, we are rolling up on the 2-hour mark of the show. So let's hurry up and try to finish off these comments, shall we? Let's see. Keith Foster says, I really did not care for Space Jam 2. It feels very cynical and slapped together. I think it has all of the formula of Space Jam with none of the charm. Interesting. Oh, and he goes on to say, and it didn't make sense. I know it's cartoons, but they don't even stick with any kind of internal tune logic like Space Jam 1 or Roger Rabbit. Again, not having seen the film, I can't specifically comment on what it is that you're talking about. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter what storytelling format it is, whether it's animation or live action or stop motion or whatever. Like, you need to tell a story about something internal. And if your logic of how your universe works doesn't add up, then come on. Like, come on, you guys. Come on. But yeah, across the board, I know Space Jam 2, A New Legacy, has faltered so much with the critics. Keith Foster says, nostalgia is a hell of a drug. I typically try not to incorporate any swearing or cursing on the show, but I will for this one exception. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. That's a great reference. But it's true. Like nostalgia is so powerful. It really informs a lot of the choices and decisions that we make and stuff that we say is good and not good. Nerdzone says Super Mario Brothers movie is on Prime in the UK. That's interesting. I wonder if it's on Prime in the US because I've been wanting to see it. I've been wanting to see it, and as I get distracted while looking for it, to my knowledge, it is not streaming anywhere in the United States. Dominica, are you aware of something that I'm not in that regard?
No, I don't know. I haven't looked it up at all. It's not one of the ones that I was like itching to rewatch or anything. But I, even if something is streaming, I forget that I can check to see if it's streaming first, and I will look at my library to see if I can get it from the library instead.
Yeah, so I just looked it up. On Prime, and it is not streaming in the United States on Prime. That's why I had to go out and buy the DVD copy of it. And yes, I paid money for that. Nerdzone says the Crash trilogy got a remaster, Crash Team Racing got a remaster, and Crash 4 came out in October. Whoosh. I have no opinion. I don't play Crash. I'm not familiar with Crash. I've heard of it. I know he's a bandicoot. I don't know what that means. I'm guessing it's a racing game. That's all the more I know. Dominica, opinions on this?
Crash Bandicoot is more a platformer game, kind of like Ratchet and Clank and that kind of esque.
Again, references lost
thing.
on me.
It's similar to Mario and Sonic in the style of gameplay, but they do have a racing version, again like Sonic Racing and Super Mario Mario Kart.
So what are your what's your opinion on the Crash trilogy getting a remaster, the Crash Team Racing getting a remaster, and Crash 4 coming out in October?
Yeah, I was not aware of the Crash 4, but I feel like the remasters are the things that I was kind of referring to earlier. As for the Bandicoot, and you not knowing what that is, that's an Australian animal.
That's a real thing?
Yeah. Yes.
So what is it? What is a Bandicoot? Now I have to look this up. Riff for a minute while I look this up.
It's there's a lot of different Australian animals that kind of get used for things. It's like Tasmanian devil in the Looney Tunes. That people just they don't know what they are, and then they get used in American versions of games, and I don't understand why. They need to do a number.
Tasmanian
it's like,
devil.
It's yeah, I mentioned Tasmanian devil, but like I was doing this very brief like give me a suggestion of an animal for an improvised artwork that I did like yes animals for my online store, and some American had suggested quokka. You heard of quokka, because quokkas are these like really large rodents on this one island in Western Australia where I'm from, and I don't know how they've kind of expanded out into this thing that people have heard of, but I had a quokka suggested, so I drew a quokka for one of my pictures.
So this is a Bandicoot. I don't know what a Bandicoot does.
I think it's a marsupial, like most Australian animals.
Was it like a mouse or something? There's somebody.
It's larger than a mouse. It's kind of like more about. I think it's like the size of a fox-ish kind of thing. It's like an Australian version of that-ish, I think. But, you know, I don't even remember seeing them, like, in zoos or anything. It's not like it was one of the most popular Australian animals.
Interesting. All right, well, let's move on, shall we? Let's move on. Where'd we go? Crash Bandicoot. Dominica from Nerd Zone. Dominica can't say she likes Final Fantasy and say I haven't played 7. It's worth the play for the story. Oh, you just got called out, Dominica.
I know. I have the remake because I bought it for my kid, and I would like to play it. My brother played it when he was here last year, but I didn't sit through it. Yes, it is one of the ones that I know that I have to play. I just it's time consuming to play games like that, and I haven't had the energy for it.
Well, just remember, it's as Nerd Zone says, it's worth the play for the story. Don't play the remake. It's the first third of the game. They made the first 10 hours into 60.
Wow. Okay.
Woof.
Well, I would have to see if I can get access to my download. Like, I originally bought the original Final Fantasy VII as a download. But I've been through a couple of iterations of PlayStation 3 since then. I'm not sure I still have access to the same account. So, yeah, I don't know.
Fair. All right, 2 more comments left. Keith Foster Kid says, "Oh, Mike, don't mess with family." And then followed up by Nerd Zone. Mike, remember, Fast and Furious isn't about how good it is. It's about family. I was writing this before Keith Foster's Kid said his take. Yeah, I have seen enough Fast and Furious, like I said, 1 through 4, to know it's all about the family. It's not about how good it is. It's about family. And don't mess with that family. Woo! As I pull my headphones off of my head. Yeah, don't mess with that family, because they will, woof! Dominica, final thoughts. I almost said Final Fantasy. Final thoughts about, we have one more comment about Final Fantasy. We'll talk about that in a second. About Fast and Furious.
Yeah. I think the reason I got into it in the first place was because I had a crush on Paul Walker, but obviously he left because he died. So I did continue on despite that.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they write him out of the movies before he died? Wasn't that like a serendipitous writing happenstance?
I think they did it because he died.
Oh, okay.
He was meant to be in the movie, and this is too long ago now. But they did have some stuff with him as a result of dying.
Gotcha.
In the movie.
Because I know in one of the movies they did kind of like a little memorial to him, like to his character in the film of like, what's his name, Brian something in the movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know his name.
Anyway, so I knew something about that, but I'm looking. So from what I'm told, Fast and the Furious 5 kind of really starts picking up the action, like the fun of what most audiences consider Fast and Furious. 1 through 4, but 5 again. From what I'm told, 5 is the one that like really starts kicking it up a notch and like bringing in like other elements besides like, hey, we're just gonna race cars in the streets and be really furious about it.
Yes, yeah, they that's when they start getting really wild and more far-fetched in the kinds of adventures that they have.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. I am very much looking forward to that. All right, our last comment of the day comes from the Nerd Zone. And the Nerd Zone says, I got Final Fantasy VII on my Switch for £15. That sounds like quite a steal. Especially being like, I don't play stuff. I've thought about getting a Switch. I'll be completely honest. I've considered getting a Switch, but then again, I don't play enough video games that I think it would actually be worth it. What I end up doing a lot of times is I'll just download movies and then just watch them on my phone when I'm like on the subway or like every now and again when I have a spare moment on the airplane, or especially if you need to stay awake on an airplane. Play a little music, play a little thing in your ear. Oh, one more comment that just came in from Nerd Zone. Fun fact about Final Fantasy VII. I almost read that as could be Fast and Furious 7. Who knows? FF7. They couldn't fit it on an N64 cartridge, but if they could, it would be 12 cartridges with CDs having more power in PS1 than N64. Interesting. I am unfamiliar with that, and at the time that came out, yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense. It's weird to think that now we live in a day and age where we're talking about copious amounts of data. Like my phone holds, I think this is like 500 gigs worth of memory. 500 gigabytes worth of memory in this tiny little thing. It's a phone, it's a computer, it's a calculator, it's a web browser, it's a social media getter. It's like you can do almost anything. It's an editor. You can do anything on a phone, right? 500 gigabytes. Let's rewind. Let us not forget 15 years ago when I was in college, I had to go to Staples to buy a thumb drive, which was, I think it was 200 megabytes. And I think that set me back like $40 or $50 for 200 megabytes of memory. This was 15 years ago. Do you remember this, Dominica? Because you and I are pretty much the same age. 15 years ago. 200 I think it was 256. 256 megabytes worth of memory set you back $50. Right. That was insane.
My mom's first digital camera had a 3.5-inch floppy. That's what it took for what it saved on, and that cost her over $1,000. That was like $1,200 or something like that.
So how much money, or I'm sorry, how much memory did that have?
What's a 3.5 5-inch floppy had 1.44 megabytes or something. Wasn't it?
$1,000 back in the day. Back in the day, you guys. You have no idea. No, and now we're living a day and age where like Zack Snyder's Justice League, the 4K version will not fit on one disc, and people are so upset that you have to watch this movie on 2 discs. You have no idea. You have no idea what we lived through.
I think that the Final Fantasy VII game that was mentioned, when it came out on the PlayStation, it was 6 discs, I think. So you had to change the discs.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, like, and again, that's the world that we grew up in. That's like when you and I were going through this. You look back on it now and you're like, that's crazy. But at the time, it was revolutionary. You guys, this game is so huge. It comes in 6 discs. That's so awesome. And so you play through 1 disc and you switch it out and you just keep same thing on VHS. Do you remember I'm not saying that Pearl Harbor is a great cinematic masterpiece or anything, but Pearl Harbor came out on 2 VHS tapes. It was so long. Same thing with Gone with the Wind. You had to watch that on 2 VHS tapes.
Titanic is so long that when I went to see it at the cinema, they had an intermission.
Yeah. We don't do intermissions anymore. We just sit through Avengers Endgame, and we have got to hold our legs together for fear we are going to urinate the seats.
Yeah. They need to bring back those intermissions. Why don't they have them
Intermissions
anymore?
are wonderful. Oh, the intermissions are great. You know, all it is money. It's just money, because you can play, and that's why, like, if you're gonna have a 3.5-hour movie like Endgame, well, it was 3 hours. If you're gonna have a 3-hour movie like Endgame, you better know it's gonna bring the box office, because you're taking an hour of playtime away from any other movie. If you're doing 2 showings, if you're doing multiple showings, you know, just do the math. Just divide by 3, or I guess 0.3. You know what I'm talking about. A third. Take away a third.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a whole economics thing. Yeah, Dominica, I think we are out of comments. I think that's it for comments today. You stuck around so much longer than you agreed to. So first of all, thank you. I always tell my guests, hey, we're gonna go from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. We're gonna go for an hour. And then it turns out that we go way grossly over that. So thank you for sticking around for that.
You're welcome.
Just as I did last week, do you have any fun things coming up? Anything that you wish to plug?
Well, I do have an update on the Secret Lives of Villains thing that I mentioned last week. We've decided that we're going to be kind of random. And so if you just follow us on Facebook, maybe you'll get a notification for a Facebook Live at a random hour. That's how we're going to do it. And it's probably, the first one's only going to be like 5 minutes or 15 minutes. Like, so we're just going to be really random about it. So follow the Secret Lives of Villains on Facebook for that.
The Secret Lives of Villains.
Yeah.
Cool.
And and if anyone wants to follow my blog, then they can look me up at dominiquecreates.com. I do have a blog post that I'm hopefully going to publish later today.
Yeah.
Because it's written. Just need to post
Perfect.
it.
As it should be. In that same vein, if anybody wants to send in a question or comment, anything movie, television show, or even video game related, even though I'm not familiar with any video games at all, send me an email at gottalovethemmovies@gmail.com. And as long as it's family friendly, we'll make your comment or question a main topic here on the show. You guys, if you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what the Crash Bandicoot would want you to do. I have no idea what a bandicoot is, and I even looked it up online. You guys, we all live in a weird, crazy world where everybody has their own thoughts and opinions, and sometimes those thoughts and opinions clash. So if you have an opportunity to infuse a little bit of kindness into the world, or to speak kind words to each other, please, I implore you, take those opportunities. As always, on behalf, or rather, in the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. I will see you guys next week.